Hello, everyone, and welcome to your weekly world session. I'm Terryann at leurbanretreat. You can find me at leurbanretreat.com. Please like, share, subscribe, and even, ask for what you would like to see covered during our world sessions. So today we're going to look at aging, menopause, male menopause, female menopause. That means hormones, lumps, bumps, bulges. As we age, there are lesions around the body, cancers around the body. We know cancer is always there and leaving the body when it becomes the bad kind of cancer. It means it's not eating itself anymore. So we want to make sure that one, we can dump all the senescent cells in the body. Now, for you young people who are listening, we could do perimenopause, and this idea that we are always changing and aging, and we can always use a nice cleanse. You might not need some of the things going on here, but these days even young people are having all kinds of hormone imbalances. There's a lot of problem with pregnancy. There's a lot of problems with menstrual cycles for a lot of girls and women. There's things like polycystic ovaries. There's people going on the pill super early just to control the menstrual cycle. So think about menopause as something that is constantly changing within us. So I had read this, I think when I was 27, this woman wrote a book. And if anybody knows this book, it's all about menopause. I can't remember the woman's name, but it was a really good book. And she talked about progesterone and getting natural progesterone from yams. So I started using the cream at the time, just yam cream. And I found that it regulated some of my cycle, especially post taking the pill and that kind of stuff. And then the other thing is that she mentioned that the day a girl starts to menstruate is the day she starts to go through menopause. And I thought, yes, what a great idea. Because every month when I did have a menstrual cycle, I I felt like it was the most wonderful thing in the world. When I stopped having a menstrual cycle, I was very, very sad. I almost wanted to do a funeral to, that point in my life, because I loved the cycle. I loved everything that shifted and changed. I loved how I could be so in tune with the moon, so in tune with my body. So let's get that in tune, even though a lot of us don't have a menstrual cycle anymore. But those of you who do, it's great for you as well, obviously, that we're going to tune into the moon. But more importantly, well, maybe it's not. No, it's not more important for those of us who don't have a menstrual cycle. Those of us who've gone through menopause, what can happen is we forget there's still the cycles of the moon. That's my point here. Whereas those who have their monthly cycle do keep in touch with the moon. So let's bring the awareness of the moon. So some of you are right now on the other side of the planet, and it's nighttime for you. So you can look out the window if you like and check the moon. It should be growing just a bit now. We're in the, oh gosh, I just looked it up this morning. I think we're in the first quarter or beginning the second quarter of the moon, of the full moon. Well, we will be on Friday in the second quarter of the waxing moon. And then the week after will be the full moon. So just breathe and feel the moon, how it moves just every bit of water on the planet. It's moving the tides. So it's also part and parcel of what moves our body, all the fluids in our body. And we'll allow that movement to help the cycle increase the nutrients going into our cells, but also increasing the discharge of toxins from our cells. That's going to include the toxins that prevent hormone release when we need it. So for estrogen, the liver is going to work at balancing that. Then we want the rest of the body to be in tune with what do we need to get out of our bodies? What do we need to have leave? And then we'll look at what do we need to have increased. So we're going to get the brain So when I was on my walk today, I was thinking about our session, and this is one of the things that came up, was to get the brain to repair its capacity to look for the things that get disrupted. In this case, hormones and toxins that are in the body. So yeah, we're just going to repair those programs. That's going to go to the urinary tract system, the lymphatic system, the integumentary system, and digestive system. And we also want to bring in the ability to transmute so that the body, mind, and the energy systems look at, well, we don't have to go sluggishly through all these systems. Things can be basically transmuted. How do we transmute that? Well, one is through vibration. The other one is through the belief that we can do that. So if you don't believe you can transmute stuff out of your body, well, you won't, okay? Basically, you won't. But if you do believe it, well, you're encouraging every single system and allowing that to give the brain the capacity to find the ways to transmute. So I'm not telling you to just believe it, but to be open to the possibility of transmutation. And transmutation seems magical, but we know this through so many different magical things that go on in the world. Like, I want to think of something simple, like the internet is magical, that we can access whatever we want on the internet. And then we know there's magic that is like a magic spell, and that can be very dangerous. So the internet does do that to us. We can see people who believe things so strongly. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but X just, for those of you who don't know X and you still call it Twitter, I don't call it Twitter anymore, but I can reference it to Twitter. But it is X, and they've now found a way, not found a way, but they put the location of individuals online. So there are people who saying they're, full-on Americans. Meanwhile, they're somewhere in Bora Bora, and they're not Americans, and they're just influencing the way we think. And it's huge in India, I think. So, I mean, very smart of them, right? Very smart. It's like, well, I can make a lot of money if I pretend I'm an American accountant, I influence the Americans, and I get people to watch me because I'm inciting all kinds of rage bait and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm laughing because if you buy into it, I'm really sorry. It's terrible if you are buying into it, but here we're trying to allow our brains to go, wait a minute, let me question every single thing I see. And by the way, that is what I've done most of my life, is question everything that I see. That's been my job over the last 25, 30, 35, 40 years. I think I started professionally, it was 1995. So it was always question everything that is going on. And that's a great way to approach anything you're looking at and seeing. And also another thing that I find is that we don't really have a discernment. So this is going to be your small intestine and your heart, right? Small intestine and heart. And if the heart and the small intestine are not discerning, so when you're in a woman's body, and this happens to me as well, we'll tend to be over sympathetic, over empathetic, and over compassionate with certain things going on, right? Like I watched once Bear Grylls, and there were two teams, the female team and the male team, and they were let off on the island. And the women, and this story can be generalized in many, many different places where women tend to do this. They'll pick up the food, like a little baby pig that is ultimately supposed to be food, and they make it a pet. And then everyone's starving, and they start fighting over, not killing the pet when they join up with the man. It was just really, really crazy. And we do that often. We will, there are jokes out there, memes out there where, there are all these deer in the backyard, and the husband comes out and goes, well, my wife's named them all. How do I tell her that I want one of them as food because we've run out of venison? So I just think it's so funny how we behave. So we can often be led by our the gut brain that is not working properly. It's just not working properly. Now, there's one thing to have compassion. Of course, we need that. Of course, we need to counteract that with our survival instincts and so forth. Yes, but we can't go to extremes where now our filters of perception just look at a scene and it doesn't question if it's real or not. Like there's some older people online who are always sharing AI videos and saying, oh my God, look how amazing this is. A baby fell into an ape pen and the ape is handing the baby back. Or, bears coming in and jumping on trampolines. And, even my mom, who's at 87, will say, oh my God, that is so amazing. Mom, it's AI. I've shown her different videos. I go, these are AI. And she says, how do you know? I go, it's just irregular. You can see the faces are too smooth and they're older than we are. Their voices are choppy, but they can't detect. So a lot of us, our filters aren't necessarily built to detect. And I don't even, quite frankly, think I could detect whether news reports that you would see, whether on television or the media, are they real or have they AI'd them? I think we've all been deceived by politicians who tell us certain things are going on and then we find out that never happened. Never happened. They just set a stage. So we really need to have a clear gut brain. So we're asking the proper questions so that we are not part of that, I don't know, follow the crowd. Now, if I just said something that you don't like, I go, but I want to follow the crowd, you go right ahead. That's okay. That's fine. That's not my business. Breathe, because that hurts. That's hurting my belly, and I want to make sure that those who want to follow the crowd, you don't need to do this. Absolutely not. There's no judgment. I can completely understand why someone would not want to take the red pill. I understand it completely. The first time I watched The Matrix and the guy shot everybody and tried to shoot everyone, but killed one of the brothers. I forget all the names. And because he wanted to go back into the Matrix and forget and be eating a piece of steak, even though he knows it's fake, and be rich and just be in the Matrix. Okay. I completely understand it. There's no will in that individual. But those of us who have will and still want freedom and still want to keep evolving as humans, we don't want to become AI, which we already are, but anyway, we're robots. Why do I say that? Because we're so linked to what's going on the internet. Now, there are some people who are not, of course not, but there are a lot of people, if I look at some people who are not on the internet at all, but they're still watching mainstream media, right? So there are very few people who do not access mainstream talking points. And it was really funny. I was at a dinner, I think we were 12 people, and I was just sitting there listening. And I said, oh God, this is the boring version of the news. This is the really boring version of the news. At least on the news, I could switch between different people, and I could go to people who are university professors, and I could listen to them. Like I love going to the teachers at Hillsdale College. I like going to the teacher Jordan Peterson Academy. I like listening to Gad Saad, a university professor here in Montreal. Jordan Peterson, university professor, old one, now basically kicked out of University of Toronto, but he has his own university. These fascinating, interesting people who have so much to share with us. There are tons out there. The boys at Trigonometry, amazing group of boys. And all you're doing is educating yourself. It's not guiding you on one side or the other. You're finding your way. And this is what the gut brain needs. When the gut brain is fed garbage, well, then it thinks in a garbage way. When the gut brain and the brain are fed some interesting information, I hope when you come on here that there's some sense that this is interesting, that it's interesting to see the approach to this work. There are a lot of people behind me here too that you don't see, but they are wonderful and they always share beautiful information with me, whether it's their personal illness in a particular moment in time, but what they struggle through and how they deal with things. They are an amazing, amazing group of people. So it's not just me. I'm totally supported here. And we are all bringing this awareness so we can heal together and offer it to the world. Just offer it to all of you. But of course, I'm Greek, so they say beware of Greeks bearing gifts. No, you don't have to worry. There's no obligation and no trick. But I always think of, look, you don't have to accept any gifts. All right, so now if we go back into the gut brain, I feel it calmed down, but as you notice, I coughed. Now, that was something I wanted to bring up as well. So there's the hormonal aspect, there's the liver that's involved, there's obviously the pituitary, pineal, and then all of the endocrines. Now, the coughing thing that I'm experiencing is reminding me that as we age, our voices change. It starts to get weaker. It's not as strong. Yeah, some people know, some people yes, but we all know a voice is older, it's shakier, it's a little bit different. I want to work through that musculature for those of us who have difficulty. So, and there's also some people get super dry mouth. They find it difficult to swallow. This is happening to me right now. I'm having, a very dry throat. That's also, all of the all of the necessary components required for muscles and for smooth tissue. Sorry, just taking those are my electrolytes. All right, so I'm just going to work through a repair program on thin tissue. Now, this is going to search and retrieve thin tissue anywhere in the body. So that can be throat, that can be through an organ, that can be genitals, anywhere. That can be uterus. So many of us women who are aging, everything's becoming thinner, especially along the lining and the walls. So let's get them juiced up. Let's get some collagen distribution, production, and of course, taking in as much collagen as we can from whatever collagen supplement you take or the foods that we have. And I'm also looking at oils. I feel like as we age, or many people in the aging part of the population, not enough oils. So I don't know about you, I oil my face, I oil my body, I drink oil. I do my best to get oil in everything. And of course, taking, the omegas that we need. Breathe. Okay, so this didn't come up earlier, but this is postural control. So one of the things that a lot of us older people can do, our necks can start to squish down, like the shoulders come up. I've noticed I've been doing that as well. And then there's that lovely double chin here, that hangs just wonderful, so exciting to see that, And we breathe, and we're going to allow the spine, cervical spine. I haven't done this in a long time. Wow. Is to really feel into the curve of the coccyx, then bring that sweeping bit up and just really feeling into the rotation of the hips so that when we rotate forward, then the spine is going to come down into, and then we rotate backward and the spine kind of elongates. So the S form of the spine keeps moving down and up, and bring that vibration right into the cranium and allow the cranium to lift. Allow that cranium to lift. So again, that's so many times I've said to people, you don't have to believe this work. It works anyway. I've seen people sit in front of me and go, I don't believe this. I don't believe this. I don't believe this. And as I'm doing the work, I say, how's your arm? Oh, I can move it better, but I don't believe this work. So I'm using the term belief very loosely because you don't necessarily have to believe it. Belief improves it. Belief will allow you to question your own beliefs. So if I tell you, okay, transmutation, let's transmute the usage of the spine. Let's transmute the way we've been using it. Okay, but now you can go off and question that and see how that's possible and do your own studies, do your own research, so you can see what is actually possible. So it's not completely magic, though it does look like magic at the end when something actually does the job. It looks so magical. And I think everyone here can attest to magic moments when we do this work. All right, so I'm restructuring the reciprocals of shoulder to hip. What do I mean by that? Well, if we've got this spine, the S of the spine getting more flexible, elastic, and tensegrous, we also want that spine to allow the shoulder hip connections to work in tensegrity to and from each other and allow the joints to rotate. Now I've got really huge issues in my shoulders. They're just terrible. Oh, I just noticed that's my methylene blue to brain. If you're wondering why I have a blue tongue. All right, so I'm just checking to see. So even that is there's a bit more movement. So I'm looking at the musculature anterior to the flexors, and then into the groin musculature, as well as the psoas muscle, muscle of the soul, and the big piece that I have not mentioned as of yet. What we're going to do here is get engaged all of the memories they're called active memories, those memories in your life that impinge on everything we have done here. Any memories, not good ones, not things you just remember. I remember I went for a walk this morning. That's no big deal. But the memories that are active would have an emotional charge, and they will prohibit, inhibit, or encourage certain, let's say, OCD behaviors. Okay. Breathe. So let's say my obsessive behavior would be to constantly favor what goes on through the shoulders and neck. So I'll create positions. Instead of doing that, I want my active memories that have to do, let's say, with pain. I would say with pain, I want them to start releasing so that when I gain new postural control, that won't hurt, which it didn't. So you could have any type of structure from your shoulders to your hips, through the spine, all the way up to the occipital ridge that is restricting movement due to memories. So we're going to allow them, you might even feel them almost like data or marbles dropping, where they're just dropping through, and we're going to free it up. Again, that's going to be placed on release. We can allow it to release through the nervous system, allow our kundalini to burn it out. My favorite way. That's my favorite transmutative process, is to have that phoenix rising going through each of these. So we burn it, and then the phoenix rises, so you have something new, which also deals with fear, and fear we're going to dump into the individuation process. And another thing we haven't done for a while is guilt and shame. We'll allow that to dump as well, but the body, the innate of everyone is saying, let's not get too involved with the stories around guilt and shame, because those are the things that restrict movement. Let's just dump the memories and allow you to freely move within your body, and then see how you want to create your life. That's your business. That's your connection to the Atman. The Atman is your connection to God. Whether you believe in God or not doesn't really matter. It could be, you might believe that we're a simulation. You might believe there's nothing out there except your own mind is your own God. No matter who I've spoken to in my life, no one has ever come to me without a belief in something. And it's ridiculous. Like, we do believe in something. I believe in this, that this chair is a chair. Yes, my belief is flexible, and I could use it as a training tool for my bird, or I could use it as a step ladder. Well, actually, no, this one would swivel and knock me over. But the point to this is that when there is a gap, when there's no belief, it doesn't make any sense, because there's still a belief in something. That's still a belief in something. Even if you say, well, I only believe in facts. We are funny. We are funny. We are just funny creatures, because the mind is a funny place to live. Not the best neighborhood to live in. And that's all mind stuff. When you're within the vertical, within self, and in that I am, I don't see any beliefs. It's only when the mind stirs that there's a belief that's coming up. And again, beliefs aren't bad or good. It's only when they're rigid. Believing this is hair doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And there we go. So it's working through the upper part of the scapula, mostly in the levator, and part of the trapezius, which is going to allow some movement of that area so that the spine lifts in a, counter gravity is what tensegrity can do. It can counter gravity. How does it do it? Well, expansion and contraction. So they move away from each other. Like the upper thigh can pull away from the knee, and the lower leg can pull away from the knee. So when you're moving, your muscles pull away. They don't cause the knee to bang together. When we're moving as gravity, then the muscles are squeezing together and knocking the knee together. So that was one beautiful thing I learned from Dr. John Beltime, was how tensegrity and the knee operate, so that we're not. So when I walk, I always walk with the idea that my thigh muscles are pulling away from my knee. When I forget to do that, and my day lunges in on me, and I'm getting heavy and laden with my thoughts and whatever I have to do, you better believe when I get back home, it's really hard to step up the stairs. When I go out and I'm thinking of tensegrity and my body having that contraction and expansion, while I'm being imposed upon by gravity, well then, okay. I come home and it's like, oh, I'm light as a feather. I can hop up the stairs. So something wonderful to do. If you can practice that, it's a great thing for your knees, for your hips, for your spine, allowing it to expand. And there we go. Well, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and see you next week. Same time, same place, same channel. Bye.